Ladies and gentlemen, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, Almighty,
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
the Merciful, the Beneficent. Now the topic is, which one is the religion of peace? Islam or Christianity? Thank you. Now, when you look at the history of Islam and the history of Christianity, you will be able to see which one is the religion of peace. Now, he may wash his hands away. He may turn around and say, well, my forefathers are burning witches. I have nothing to do with them. My ancestors are waging crusades. I have nothing to do with them. George Bush, he said, God commands me to wage this crusade. I have nothing to do with him. He's a lone cow, lost in the jungle somewhere, and no one backs him up. As far as his religion is concerned, he alone upholds it. There is no other Christian on the planet, including Breivik. You know Anders Breivik, who killed close to 100 people in Norway recently, was a Christian. Was he not? Was he not? Was he not? Was he not a Christian? Okay. Now, history teaches us that Islam gave freedom to the Christians and the Jews. The oldest communities of Christians on the planet, and he's running away.
Do I look like I'm running away?
No.
You're scared, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
You're getting nervous now.
I'm not scared.
You were hoping I'd run away.
Okay. Islam protected Christians. Islam protected Jews. Islam protected Hindus. That's why you find millions of Hindus in India. Well, almost a billion. That's why you find Christians in Egypt to this day surviving. They survived when the Muslims governed them for thousands of years, over 1,000 years. Bernard Lewis, a Jewish historian, he writes that Muslims protected the Jews from extinction for 1,000 years. If it wasn't for Muslim protection, the Jews would have been extinct at the hands of the Christians. At the hands of the Christians. These peace-loving, hallelujah, singing and dancing Christians. All of these Christians. Okay, the ones who burn the copies of Quran, the ones who hate us so much that they have to come to the speaker's corner every week and spread hatred against Islam. These are hateful people, not us. I'm only retaliating. Just like Muslims are doing in the world. Okay, so don't blame the victim, blame the oppressor. This is the oppressor who comes and lies, on Islam. Islam has the most magnificent history in the history of mankind.
How many people believe Islam is a peaceful religion? How many people believe that Islam has no blood on its hands? Do you see the problem? No one's agreeing with you. Can you see, people, define what we mean by Christianity? See, he would like to look at all the atrocities that have been done by European powers and call that Christian. What is a Christian? A Christian is someone who follows Jesus Christ. Yes. Does Jesus allow us to go to war? No, he doesn't. Does Jesus allow us to use a sword? No, he doesn't. Look at the one time that a sword was used to defend Jesus Christ by one of his disciples. He turned towards Peter, told him to put away the sword, and he says, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. If you want to talk about Christianity, and you want to look at the United States, or any of the wars that are happening today, that has nothing to do with Christianity. Be careful how you define Christianity. Right? Be careful how you define Christianity. Because if you want to define it that way, then every Muslim in the world must be defined as a true and pure Muslim. But if you want to define Islam, you've got to go back to the Prophet Muhammad. You've got to go back and see what he did. And look at Muhammad to define Islam, and look at Jesus to define Christianity, and what do you find? Jesus wins every time. It is Jesus that is the man of peace, folks. And I did look at every church, I look at every Christian, and I use Jesus as my rubric. I use Jesus to define whether or not Christians are being good Christians or bad Christians. You must do the same with Islam. Look at Muhammad and see how Muslims either follow his example or do not. And that's why this debate comes back to Muhammad versus Jesus. They all do. And And when you talk about peace and violence, look at Muhammad's life. And look and see what he did in Mecca. And how he changed when he went to Medina. Once he moved to Medina, the last 8 years of his ministry, between the last 10 years and 632, look and see how many battle campaigns he was involved in. 29 battle campaigns, 39 that he planned on top of that. How many battle campaigns did Jesus have? You want to get higher. You're having a hard time being my size, aren't you?
I can climb
Can you see a difficulty?
I can climb the tree.
Already he's saying that Christians all around the world, anytime that you find a Christian doing violence, that's Christianity. He used the example of Egypt. Folks, how many Egyptian Christians are here? And ask them if they feel comfortable being Christians in Egypt today. Look and see the persecution, the enormous number of churches that are being burned by Muslims today. And I will show you.
Amen.
It is Jesus!
Hallelujah! Jay has failed to convince you, ladies and gentlemen. Now he paid someone to come and play music now when I talk. Ladies and gentlemen, I made solid points about the history of Islam. He said we have to go back to Muhammad and Jesus. I say we go back to Islam and Christianity. Why? Because he knows when we talk about Christianity, he has no legs to stand on. So he finds a convenient way out to talk about Jesus, the man of peace. But he's wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus said in the Gospels, it is there, buy a sword. How? Sell your garments, take your clothes off, sell them and buy a sword. What for? To tickle or to clean your ears or clean your teeth? No, buy a sword. Now he's going to come back and say, he said buy a Makai. Makai is, in Greek is like a knife. Okay, why would Jesus do that? In fact, Jesus was a violent man. Let me explain. According to the Gospels, let me give you an example. He goes to the temple. And what does he do? He turns over the tables of the money changers. Is this a peaceful man or is this a troublemaker? A peaceful man would never harm anyone. A peaceful man would never turn someone's tables over. A peaceful man would never hurt someone. He goes into the temple and he picks up the tables and he turns them over. Is this a peaceful man? Is this a peaceful man? No, he's not a peaceful man. In fact, Jesus, he agreed with Islam more than he agreed with you. He never followed a religion called Christianity. Jesus was not a Christian. He was never called a Christian. He never said, I am a Christian. These people, they say they are Christians. He never said, I am God or worship me. Rather, what he said was, there will come people on the day of judgment. They will say to Jesus, Lord, 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 Lord. And he will say to people like this, get away from me. I don't know you. Because why? Because you transgressed the limits of God. You turned Jesus into a God while he never claimed to be God. So ladies and gentlemen, the history of Islam and the history of our Prophet speaks for itself. The fruit speaks for the root. The fruit talks for the seed. Look at the seed and look at the fruit. The fruit of Islam is protection for the Jews, protection for the Christians, protection for the Hindus. The fruit of Christianity for 2,000 years, persecution, murder, mass burnings of witches, crusades, slave trade, Atlantic slave trade. His ancestors were slavers. J. Smith's ancestors, he's American. He's American. His ancestors were slavers. They enslaved people and they treated them like cattle.